For nearly a decade, Amelia Warner remained silent. She smiled at red carpets, walked beside Jamie Dornan with quiet grace, and refused to comment on the one topic the world never stopped asking about: Dakota Johnson. While tabloids spun stories of secret chemistry and forbidden love between Jamie and his 50 Shades co-star, Amelia stayed still. No interviews, no denials, no angry statements. Just silence. For 10 long years. But silence, she now admits, has its limits. When she finally decided to speak, her voice was calm, steady, not angry, but full of a kind of tired honesty that only comes from years of endurance. People forget, she said softly, that behind every headline, there's someone quietly breaking. Those words marked the first time Amelia Warner publicly acknowledged the pain that had lived in her shadow since 2015, the year 50 Shades of Grey turned her husband into a global obsession. It wasn't the fame that hurt the most. Amelia had known what life in the spotlight felt like. She'd been an actress herself before choosing music and family over Hollywood. What hurt was the way people treated her, like a ghost standing behind a man who belonged to someone else in the public's eyes. I remember reading comments, she recalled, people saying I looked sad, that I must be jealous, that I couldn't handle seeing him with her. And for a while, I believed them. When Jamie's face began appearing on posters around the world, so did Dakota's, their bodies intertwined, their chemistry undeniable. The story was everywhere. Christian and Anastasia, the dangerous love that blurred reality and fantasy. And as fans fell in love with the characters, they began to project that passion onto the real people playing them. It was like watching another version of my husband fall in love, Amelia said quietly. Even if I knew it wasn't real, it still felt like losing a part of him. The press made it worse. Headlines screamed about secret feelings, private dinners, and on-set affection. Every time Jamie and Dakota were seen together, rumors of an affair resurfaced. Amelia refused to respond, believing that silence would protect her marriage. I thought if I ignored it long enough, it would fade, she admitted. But silence doesn't erase pain. It just buries it deeper. There were nights she stayed up late, scrolling through articles she shouldn't have read. Photos from premieres, interviews filled with laughter between Jamie and Dakota. Moments that outsiders dissected as proof of love. People forget that we were all playing roles, she said. They believed the movie more than they believed me. Friends say Amelia became quieter during those years, more withdrawn, more reflective. But she never blamed Jamie entirely. She understood the difference between art and reality, yet she couldn't escape the emotional toll it took. You can know something isn't true, she said, and still feel the hurt as if it is. What most people didn't know was how much Jamie tried to protect her from the storm. He avoided reading gossip, turned down interviews about Dakota, and shielded Amelia from questions as best he could. But no matter how hard he tried, the whispers always found their way in. He once told me, Amelia remembered, I don't know how to make them stop. And I realized then, neither did I. Still, she stayed. Through premieres, tours, and red carpets, Amelia smiled for the cameras. Her silence became her armor. But inside, something was breaking, not in anger, but in exhaustion. You reach a point where pretending you're unaffected becomes heavier than the truth, she said. So when Amelia finally chose to speak after 10 years, it wasn't to accuse or expose. It was to release. People think silence is strength, she said. Sometimes it's just survival. She admitted that there were moments when she questioned everything, the marriage, the trust, even her own worth. I used to ask myself, what if they really did love each other? What if I was the outsider in my own story? But she also spoke about the turning point, the day she realized silence no longer served her. It was my daughter who asked me once, Mummy, why do people say those things about Daddy? And I didn't have an answer. That's when I knew I couldn't stay quiet forever. As she looked back on those 10 years, Amelia didn't sound bitter, she sounded free. I'm not here to blame anyone, she said. I just want people to know that love isn't about pretending things don't hurt. It's about facing them, even when your voice shakes. Her final words from that interview lingered long after it ended. "I was broken once," she said, "but I learned that silence can't protect you from heartbreak. It only keeps you from healing." After 10 years of whispers, Amelia Warner had finally found her voice, and the world was listening. When Amelia Warner decided to finally speak her truth, she didn't want revenge or pity. What she wanted was clarity, for herself, for her marriage, and for everyone who had turned her life into a headline. 10 years is a long time to carry silence, she began. You start confusing peace with numbness. I wasn't protecting my marriage anymore, I was protecting my pain. Her words echoed softly, but they carried weight. Amelia admitted that during those early years of 50 Shades, she had felt trapped in an emotional limbo, loving a man the world insisted belonged to someone else. Every photo of them was a reminder, she confessed. Every interview became a question I couldn't answer. She said she used to dread opening her phone in the morning, afraid of what new rumor might have surfaced overnight. There were times I thought about leaving, she revealed, not because I stopped loving him, but because I stopped recognizing us. Jamie, on his part, never stopped trying to fix what the noise had broken. According to Amelia, he apologized countless times for things beyond his control, for magazine covers, for speculation, for the way people blurred fiction and reality. He once told me, "I wish they could see the real me. The one who comes home and cooks dinner, the one who hates the spotlight," she said. That's the man I married. But sometimes love alone can't silence the world. What truly began to heal their wounds wasn't time, it was honesty. Amelia recalled the moment when Jamie sat her down one night, years after the final 50 Shades film had ended. He looked exhausted, she said. And he just said, "Tell me what hurt the most." For the first time, she told him everything: the loneliness, the humiliation, the fear of being forgotten in his story. We didn't fix it in one conversation, she smiled faintly. But it was the first time I felt seen again. Amelia also addressed Dakota Johnson in that same interview, not with bitterness, but with quiet acceptance. "I don't hate her," she said. "I never did. I think we were all just caught in a story that was bigger than us." She explained that Dakota had once reached out privately, years ago, to express understanding and respect. "She told me, what we did was fiction, but I understand how it must have looked. That meant more to me than she'll ever know." As the years passed, Amelia learned to separate the man she loved from the image the world projected. She focused on her music, her children, and rebuilding the small, peaceful life she had always wanted. "Healing isn't dramatic," she said. "It's quiet. It's choosing not to open old wounds every morning." Still, she didn't sugarcoat the scars. "There were moments I thought love had an expiration date," she admitted. That maybe too much damage had been done. "But then I realized, love doesn't die because of pain. It dies when you stop trying to understand it." Those words reflected a woman who had walked through fire and learned to live again. Jamie, hearing her public words of honesty, later said privately that he felt both guilty and grateful. Guilty for what she had endured, grateful that she had the strength to endure it. "She's the bravest person I know," he told a friend. "And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to deserve her forgiveness." When asked if she forgave him, Amelia smiled, a quiet, knowing smile that held both sadness and grace. "Forgiveness isn't a gift you give someone else," she said. "It's what you give yourself when you're tired of carrying anger." She explained that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant finally laying the weight down. "The truth is," she continued, "Jamie and I were both broken in different ways. But somehow, the cracks let the light back in." By the end of her interview, there was no bitterness in her tone, only reflection. She spoke about love as something imperfect, fragile, but still worth fighting for. "I used to think strength meant staying quiet," she said. "Now I know it means speaking, even when your voice shakes." Her final message resonated deeply. "People see us as a couple who survived a storm. But the truth is, we're just two people learning how to rebuild after the rain." As the cameras turned off, Amelia sat still for a moment, eyes glistening but peaceful. 10 years of whispers, rumors, and silent endurance had finally led her to this. Not an ending, but a quiet new beginning. She had spoken her truth, not to change the past, but to finally make peace with it. And in that silence that followed, for the first time in 10 years, Amelia Warner wasn't broken anymore, she was free.